Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Untitled Reviews. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are dramas. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Kung Fu. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. And first and foremost, I really like the opening of this episode where we kind of get a nice, another lesson from Pei Ling. And I like that we are continuing to get more of her. We got her last episode from Nikki, and now we're getting her again this episode, still imparting lessons upon Nikki. I almost thought we weren't going to get any more of that, but it seems like we are. And probably eventually it will go away so that she can mainly kind of be there for Zhilong again once Zhilong finds herself like kind of on the right path of where she needs to be, maybe. I don't know, maybe all that Zhilong got from her while she was locked up was what she needed, and she isn't going to see her sister anymore, and she's back to where she's needed with Nikki. Once again, maybe there's a lot more going on with that than even Zhilong or even Nikki realizes, but we'll have to wait and see. But Pei Ling kind of brings up something interesting that Nikki's holding back. It's like, no, did you just see that takedown? It's like, no. You have to decide what you are to that girl. Do you want to simply be her friend, or are you going to be her shifu? Because you can't be both. Because you want to be her friend because at the end of the day, you're scared. You don't want to take too much charge. You want to keep things friendly. You want to be a partner to her. But that's what you need. At the end of the day, what does Mia need? She needs someone to guide her along the way, along this path, to lead her just like Pei Ling helped her. And Pei Ling continues to help and push Nikki in the right direction. So I thought that was kind of a dope element, and obviously it plays a very crucial role in this episode because Mia has a hard time listening because it's like, right, you're not my boss, Nikki. Like, we're kind of on even footing. So, like, when I say I want to get involved in this investigation, I'm going to get involved. And she's taking risks that she shouldn't have, but they're not a well-oiled machine. They're only just getting back together. So now it's like, right, they haven't really found their ebb and flow with each other. And Mia's the type of person who for so long has done stuff on her own. And I think it's because Nikki has, gone through that herself. She went off and did so much on her own, whether it was staying in China for 3 years at the monastery and being trained by Pei Ling, even coming home. She tried to handle so much on her own, but realized, she's fortunate enough to have an entire team. She has her family beside her. She's got Evan, she's got Henry, everyone by her side. So she knows not to kind of take unnecessary risks that the people around her are around. Plus, she's got more experience in all this. Like, Mia is well trained, yes, but this is still a new wheelhouse for her. So, she doesn't know how to she's still struggling with the little cooperation angle of it. So eventually, Nikki had to put down the ground rules. Like, no, I can't go in there with you unless I can trust you. And so this isn't just a partnership. You are going to follow my lead, and Mia accepts. And it does work out in the end. But we also learned some interesting things about what Juliette's up to this episode. And I love her father makes it pretty clear. If you fail, this failure is going to be on you. And she's kind of like, because I think she feels the need to still, it's not, the sad thing is, I don't think there's anything that she does that's of her own volition, because everything she does is for the purposes of, I want my father to be proud of me. I want him to see me. Her and Kerwin and their brother were always caught in that cycle, and now Kerwin's kind of freed himself from it, but now Juliette's got all of his attention, and so it's like, right, all that pressure, everything. That she ended up crossing lines this episode. I don't think she's comfortable with it. Her father isn't above killing people. She killed someone this episode. Not with her own hands, but still responsible for someone's death, and it shook her a little bit. So she's not the cold-hearted person her father is. Just like Kerwin. Like, Kerwin has his cold-hearted natures to him as well, but that's a byproduct of the nurture of who their father is. Once again, when it comes to nature versus nurture, I want to believe, and you could have your different beliefs too. I like to believe everyone's neutral ground. Your environment plays a big role in who you are, because sometimes you will become who your parents are or your environment makes you into, or you might rebel against it just because of that and end up becoming a completely different person. So I think your environment influences you in many different ways to be like your environment, or maybe it even influences you to rebel against it. So if your family's religious, there might be something inside of you that might go, I'm pulling away from the religion. So it's just, but I see that in Juliette this episode. Her reservation, she had to have known it was going to happen, but I guess seeing it first, and probably the first time she's ever been around a dead body she's been the result of, and now she has a better understanding of what will happen to the city, that there's going to be more people like Mr. Han, there's going to be plenty of people like that, and you're going to be partially responsible for making that happen. So it's interesting getting a better understanding. Also knowing that what Juliette also did, basically with the blueprints of the bell, they completely replicated it, which I was surprised, because I thought they were going to find some other means, like they were just going to find something that could replicate the sound. I didn't realize they were legitimately just going to replicate the bell, so that kind of sucks. And even if Nikki and Henry and them destroy this bell, they already have the blueprints. It'd take a while, but they could still just make another one yet again. So, and now they've got not only just one of those gems. I'm going to butcher them, but the red gem, we'll just kind of refer to it as that because I'm going to butcher it if I try to say it. But it seems like it does something to Mia and Nikki, and there's something in their blood that I guess it's like the more supernatural elements of the warrior bloodline. Like, because Nikki can feel it too, but for whatever it is, it resonated more with Mia. It does something to her. It's because of the warrior and guardian. I think it resonates with Nikki's warrior bloodline, but having two bloodlines kind of makes you like completely, it steers the blood in you, I think, and just kind of, you lose yourself in it. So how that's going to resonate with what Russell needs in the end, because the jewels basically amplify the sound that they need to replicate, and it can kill people. And apparently this all ties back into an I'm not well versed in like a lot of history, but like I guess like a pretty big earthquake in California in 1906 is actually the result of this bell, which I love. That's like Ryan and Althea trying to wrap their head around it, because it's like, wait, there's a magic bell, like magic earthquakes and stuff. It's like, yeah, we know all about the supernatural, mystical stuff that you've crossed paths with, but still, this is like, yeah, I mean, mythical weapons mystical weapons and a mystical bell that could cause earthquakes. So, is it really that outlandish? Is it really that crazy in comparison? So, and the fact is that they walked away with so many of them too. So I'm curious, I guess if you get enough of them together, like I'm sure one of those stones amplifying the sound, the music will resonate to a certain radius. But I guess if you get enough, coming together coming together like a chorus, that sound is going to get bigger and bigger until it consumes the entirety of Chinatown. And it seems like that's Russell's plan, to destroy it. And it's like, right, what is this insurance scheme? Because what has he been doing? He's been buying up properties in Chinatown. So I'm assuming that basically he's going to destroy Chinatown and resurrect it as his own. It's going to be his own little empire, because once he does what he does, he's going to have complete and utter control over it. Like, is that really all you're going to do? Because he's talking about not just destroying the city, he's talking about, and from the ashes a new world will rise. So maybe there's other elements to it, because obviously this all dates back to like the early 1900s, because Miss Ten, her great grandfather ended up having all these like notes and movie recordings of the bell being used in the past. So I wonder, was that the last time the bell was used? Because it probably didn't have the necessary ingredients back then to fully utilize it. But now Russell has it. Well, Mia's the last ingredient, but it's like, right, we'll always know where she is, so let's gather everything else first, which now they have everything they need. All they need is Mia now, so they will probably most likely come after her now. Because Nikki, as Juliette puts it, it's like Nikki's under the impression that she can, Mia thinks she's safe and that Nikki will protect her. But as we can see, these stones have like a certain resonance with her that kind of make her lose control, and I guess kind of put her in almost like a trance-like state where no one can reach her. It's almost probably like going from probably almost a Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of thing going on, or like, Bruce Banner and the Hulk type of situation. Because she has displayed like superhuman strength, and Nikki's displayed certain supernatural almost abilities just with the way she's fighting. I think it's the warrior bloodline in her, but it seems like Mia has it a lot more. Like, even the way she punched Jilong last episode, like, it seems like the red gems make it a little more possible. I guess what I could also compare it to, speaking martial arts, is Into the Badlands, the dark ones. I think it's very similar to them. Like, there might be some kind of resonance in that. Because initially, you had to... Like, their way of activating it was they had to cut themselves and bleed, and that's how they activated their powers. But eventually it got to the point that once you learn complete control over it, you can summon it at will. So I think that's kind of like what's going on here with Mia's blood. And maybe eventually Nikki could get to the point that she can, like, she can't quite summon it fully when she wants to. Only in most extreme measures. She can't fully control it yet. It doesn't come natural to her yet. So I think that could be something we see as the season progresses, that not just Mia, and maybe like Mia will eventually lose control and be under Tan's control, and the only one that can stop her is Nikki, and she has to kind of, I think everything, especially Paling coming back to her, I think eventually all of that's going to build until we get to the point that Nikki can fully control it and utilize it herself. Because interestingly enough, this all ties into Ryan, who wants to run experiments to kind of find out about their strengths, their weaknesses, because there's something in them that he's so fascinated from this. Like, right, there's got to be something in your blood that kind of makes you unique and what makes all this possible. So Mia has to agree to, like, right, we got to look more into this to have a better understanding of why the jewels have such an effect on her like they do, so... Another interesting thing, obviously it folds into the main plot, but I think it's such an interesting thing about Evan, that him kind of going rogue without, and I think, like, the actor who plays Evan, Gavin, he had told, like, interviews about, like, about the fact is he is now someone without a badge and kind of being this rogue agent to an extent. Obviously, he was a little, he blackmailed that guy into giving some information about Juliette. So I think we'll definitely be seeing more of that side of Evan kind of going. Hopefully it doesn't end up in a situation where he starts going further and further away, straying away. Like, playing into that gray area, I think is okay because he doesn't have the badge, But I'm curious, is that going to take him down a dark path this season? Or will it just be that's kind of his lane this season, that he's not going to go overboard? I mean, that could still end up being a thing. In his desperation to take down Russell and all this, maybe he ends up crossing a line. I mean, maybe in his mind, it's like, I already crossed the line the moment I got rid of evidence, but it was for a greater purpose because my boss is in Russell Tan's pocket, so... I don't know, we'll have to see where things kind of go on that front. Another element to this episode is the Althea situation of... I was really quickly before we get to that. I love that Althea gave Nikki essentially a digital skeleton key. It's like, right, it was supposed to be a birthday present. Happy birthday! I was like, that's super cute. So I guess, like, anytime Nikki needs, like, some tech support to, like, break into a place or whatever, it's like, right, got this, like, cool, like, skeleton key my sister made for me. So I was like, oh, that's pretty dope. But other than that, what I think, getting back to it. Althea and Dennis, they're celebrating his promotion, and he's moving up in his father's company. But obviously, he's going to feel a weight about it because it's like, right, it's nepotism. These are people I'm working with. It feels weird to be celebrating with them because it's like, right, in the back of their mind, they're always going to think the only reason I'm getting this promotion is because my dad runs a company. It's like, yes, your dad might have gotten you into the door, but you worked your butt off all these years to get to where you are. So embrace that. And while they're out, obviously things have been, developing between Ryan and Sebastian. So Sebastian ended up going along with Ryan, which I love that. It's like, all right, just 10 minutes, and they do their makeout thing at the. I just love the cute thing. It's like there's a little bit of role play that go into. It's like, right, having a doctor for a boyfriend kind of benefits you in that regard, I guess. Well, I'm sure they're not putting labels on it. Like, start a relationship with a doctor, I think. But I just thought that was interesting. The little, like, oh, like, he's like, yeah, I had to go to a doctor's appointment. It's like, well, you don't actually have an appointment, so. But they go out and they're celebrating together. Obviously, Sebastian still has to be kept in the dark about some of the Nikki stuff because it's like, yeah, Nikki needs help with a job. It's like, I thought your sister worked at Harmony Dumplings. It's like, oh, she does. I butchered that. Harmony Dumplings. I slurred that, so I had to go back and correct that. Sorry. And it's like, he's like, yeah, and in fact, I've only ever seen your sister actually do deliveries, like, twice? And he's like, no, my sister's, like, super normal, super regular. And it's like, okay, there's just certain things I can't talk about, which Sebastian accepts. But then we find out some stuff about Sebastian. The moment like stuff was going to go down, I'm like, oh, he's going to reveal himself. And the moment he proved himself like capable, I'm like, you're part of the Wanzai that we learned about this episode. I'm like, you have to be a part of that. I don't know if that's why he's so close to the Shin family is because of that. I guess they needed someone to keep an eye on them, because the whole point is to try and get Henry away from Nikki, because maybe the Wanzai and the warrior bloodline, maybe they have some beef, that maybe it's just like two different groups, like probably wanting a similar thing but going about it two different ways. Maybe there's some correlation there. But Sebastian, I mean, it could be like Sebastian's circumstances might be like completely unrelated, but the fact is we've even got the name of the group, the Wanzai, this episode. I was like, he has to be connected, because the guy that Juliette killed for the music sheet, Mr. Han, is part of the Wanzai. So Russell Tan is aware of them, so it is a third party. What their situation is, they're a secret organization, how far they date back. Maybe they're kind of almost like this secret society of, throughout history, we've always moved in the shadows. I'm assuming whatever they're up to has some correlation to the bell, or maybe it has a correlation to all the supernatural stuff. So maybe they have some connection to the weapons from last season, then maybe they have something to the bell, or what their actual mission is. Is it about are they kind of like Russell, where it's like Russell Tan's trying to bring about change and they're just going about it different ways? The fact is that, lo and behold, Henry's dad is a part of it. Now we get better context. So like, right, this is Henry's legacy, and I think his legacy is going to collide with Nikki's legacy, and it might put both of... I think at the end of the day, Henry's going to choose Nikki, but he might be in a compromised position where maybe to help Nikki, he has to side with his family for the sake of making sure that everything works out, to make sure his family doesn't come after Nikki, that the Wanzai don't try to hurt Nikki, and this is part of his legacy, so he has to embrace it. So maybe he has to leave Nikki to protect the woman he loves. He has to leave her behind, type of thing. Maybe we'll get something of that nature, but it's gonna be interesting to find out like what the Wanzai's like whole deal is. So, because definitely, like, Sebastian's like, right, when it's you've got stuff you want to keep secret that you don't want to talk about yet, and I'm the same way. So can you respect that? And Ryan's kind of like, yeah, and he has this look, kind of like he's kind of down. I'm curious if that's because Ryan's a little suspicious of like, right, you coming into our lives, you fighting like that. The people who know how to fight, there's always something more. It's just like the timing's a little too... So Ryan's probably going to be maybe suspicious of Sebastian going forward. We'll see, which is sad because like they were happy and everything. Obviously Althea's like, oh, so you're going to tell mom anytime soon? And he's like, no. So they could have wanted to just kind of keep it between them. But speaking of Althea, who would she run into at the party other than Chase Matheson? And ultimately, Althea's like, right, I am not going to spend my life running and avoiding that guy. We're having a good time here. I won't let him ruin it. And so he goes out to Althea and he's talking about like, right, I'm a new improved me. Like, the fact is that he doesn't even give a real apology, that he's just kind of like, right, what went down with us, it made me, you know, I had to step down, but it made me turn myself inwards and be a better man. And I was hoping Althea wouldn't buy it because I wasn't buying it. And then all he had to do to solidify how much of a douche he is, that how much he hasn't changed, is him being like, yeah, that you saw our experience so differently. The fact is that's him making an excuse for what he did. So the moment it's like, yeah, and right, that's all Althea needed here to be like, no, you definitely haven't changed. Like, this whole Chase 2.0 bullcrap won't get past me. Like, I see you for what you are. I see you for the monster that you are. Everyone knows you as the monster that you are. And I love that she's like, right, no, you talk about your change and you're going to listen to me. The fact of the matter is, my life is great now, and the fact is, I spent too much time and energy wasted on you and thinking about you. You're pathetic. I could throw this drink in your face, but I'm not going to, because you're not worth it. I was like, boom, and the whole squad leaves. And just because showing you how much of a dick he is, it's like, oh, yo, Dennis, your wife says she can't stop thinking about me. It's like, you didn't have to say that, but it's just, you need it to make yourself feel big. You need it to make yourself feel better. So Dennis socked you in the face, which I'm like, yeah. But then he tells Dennis, yeah, oh, your dad still does business with me. It's like, no, my dad backed away the moment all that stuff came out about you. He's like, yeah, publicly. And it's like, right, do you even really know what your family does? So Dennis is going to be probably asking questions, and maybe there's some correlation to all of this. He might actually be in bed with Tan, and that's probably going to be the crushing thing for Dennis to realize, like, wow, like what his family's fortune was built off of. He probably never really questioned it too much. And nothing against Dennis, but it's just like the thing of like, yeah, sometimes you just accept your family as they are. You never look any deeper because you never think like, right, there's nothing wrong with my family, but he might have a rude awakening where he finds out his family might be in bed with the Tans or something more. I mean, the fact is that his father will continue doing business like with someone like Chase, knowing what he did to your own daughter-in-law. That's something else. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see where that goes with everything. So I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.